Welcome back to the back fence.
Yay! I love being here.
Yeah.
I love it.
How's Dyke?
I'm
Do.
feeling good, but I had a problem with my leg.
You're legless.
I was going to a pub on Sunday and I literally almost had to be carried in, not legless coming out. So go figure that one.
Oh, my
People
goodness.
going, that's weird. No, I don't know what it was. It was something to do with my IT ban or some crap, but all perfect. You know, as long as you exercise, guys, and your body's strong, you can get over anything, really.
Yeah. Well, mind over matter sometimes.
Mine's this too for a few champagnes. Very strong right arm. But how the weekend?
Well,
Friday was good.
Well, actually, we had a fabulous dinner.
We did.
Catalina, if you're
That
in
was
Sydney
fun.
or from overseas,
Love
which
it
I think
there.
our guest who's coming on soon will probably know this restaurant, Catalina. This is, we're not sponsored, we should be, but
I know.
absolutely beautiful
We had
on
the
the
best
water. But talk
time.
about service and just enjoying people's company. And also we had Miss Double
You and me,
Bay.
you think we get sick of each other?
I know. It's weird. Friends for 40
Seriously.
years, but you don't. But she was at dinner, and she was on the potty last year. So that's listen to her. She's great with Miss Double Bay, and I think we weren't too far from Double Bay. But then on the Saturday, I actually caught up with our very, very. Can you remember who was our first guest on at the Back
Leslie.
Fence? Leslie
She's brilliant,
Hancock.
Brilliant entertainer.
We
love her.
The comedian queen. So
Yeah.
she took me out, and I'm sure our guest to be, and soon you'll all hear who it is, might know that she took me out to musical theatre, and we saw the Don Lane show, and it was the late Don Lane,
His son
PJ performing. It was a real legacy and a tribute to his dad. So
Yeah,
he was
lovely.
quite, famous in his day, and had it with Channel 9 and had that show. So that was a lot of fun and lots of feedback. And then, then been watching all the goss with The Bachelor at the moment.
That's
the
been
pointy
crazy.
end. And,
I feel sorry for them. Like they're all pashing and kissing him and saying, I love you. And I'm like going, but hold on, there's another 2 or 3 of them. It's tough.
It's tough. But I think, what I like too was seeing women of our age on TV. And a lot of it has been women supporting women. And we've got Bianca Dye, who's one of the favourites too.
God, that was a good interview.
Tune into that one. Yeah. And, so she was great. And so you never know, you never know whether one of us, whether we might be on one of those shows at some stage.
Ever. Nicola might, not me.
Currently single and enjoying it. But, we like entertainment, and it's all entertainment. We've got the king of entertainment.
Okay.
And who have we got?
Yeehaw! Hi, Nelson. How are you, beautiful?
Oh, it's so nice to be here with you ladies. Thanks for inviting
We're
me.
going to do a little intro, so those that don't know, you will. If you've ever tuned into breakfast television or followed celebrity news, you'll know the name Nelson Aspen. I love the last name.
It's a great name.
I ski every year there. With his warmth and wit, he has interviewed just about everyone in Hollywood, from Robin Williams, Merryl Streep, Lady Gaga, and the iconic, one of my faves, Joan Rivers, and the list goes on. Nelson's also a veteran entertainer and cabaret performer. He's written many books. Some people exhaust me with the things they do in this tiny little life. He's seen it all, the glitz, the gossip, and the genuine human stories behind the stars. Nelson, you've managed to squeeze the juice out of life to date, and I hope all our friends listening are as intrigued as we are about you. So let's open the curtain and dive into the world of Nelson Aspen.
Yeehaw, welcome, Nelson, to our back fence.
Thank you so much. I grew up in a neighborhood where everybody did that. They spoke over the fence, and it was very loving and close, and that's a nice feeling. I've always gotten that from Australians in general. So nice to have a podcast with that theme.
Oh, Nelson, that warms our heart, because looking at right now, Nelson is in LA. Is that correct?
I am in my hotel room in Beverly Hills.
Oh, hello.
Of course.
Yes, I am. The irony is, I came here to do a little schmoozing, a little Hollywood schmoozing needed to be done for my latest book, and taking meetings and all that kind of stuff. And the irony is that the hotel where I am now, I worked in for probably 2 decades doing press junkets and interviews, and it's while it's much more expensive to come here as a paying guest as opposed to, being an invited worker or journalist, it is surreal. And I'm running into old friends in the elevator, a lot of the staff members I see that I've known, and it really is a homecoming in many ways. I lived in Los Angeles for 22 years, and I say you get less time for murder. So
I love it.
As much as I love Los Angeles, had very deep and significant friendships formed here, very happy memories. LA was a necessary evil for me to have the career that I had. It wasn't happening for me in New York City, which is home. I had to go to Hollywood to talk about celebrities. Back in those days, you needed to have the Hollywood sign over your shoulder, or it didn't mean anything.
Sure.
So I came to LA thinking, I'll tough it out for a year and a half, maybe 2. And it's funny because every day is the same. It's beautiful and sunny. Every day is the same. And all of a sudden, year after year, and you're like, holy crap, it's been 10 years. It's been 20 years. It's been 22 years.
Wow.
And I thought, I got to get the heck out of here. And I got back to New York. I found my way back to New York. And happily ever after in New York. So now when I come to LA, it's fun. It doesn't have to be the stress that it was before. And Uber saved Los Angeles. The driving is so nerve-wracking in Los Angeles between the traffic, the road rage, everything about the car culture in LA.
And the driverless. Nicola and I were there last week.
The driverless
car.
I went for a run this morning, and like 3 times the driverlesses were coming at me, and they freaked me out. I don't know how I feel about it. And I saw one passenger in them sitting in the front, and I thought, no, I think I would prefer to sit in the back and have something to brace myself.
That's right. Well, we've given it a whirl, and isn't it funny too when you actually see people? They have the Uber and they're like little robots that deliver as well.
Yes,
so like
the box things.
They're out.
Those knock me over.
Too. But you're like a household name, and your face. You've been on Aussie TV. You really are sort of like another Aussie to all of us, and you warm all our hearts. And how did you sort of start and get into this whole biz for so long?
Isn't that nice? That's so nice to hear. And it goes both ways. It's really lovely. And it's nice, when I was young and decided, I want to be an actor, and you think you're pursuing fame and fortune, this way you get neither. But instead of being famous in a way like a movie star, being known for just being on morning television, there's a familiarity, there's a camaraderie. So it's not this weird fame thing. It's a friendly interaction. So people would recognize me and just go, "G'day, Nelson." It was not a weird thing. It was like being an uncle. And it's funny because I did Australian morning television for just shy of 20 years. And I had done British morning television for 10 years before that. So I had this 30-year career. And it's a strange thing because unlike any other form of television, morning television, you're in people's homes at the most intimate time of the day. They're not dressed. Maybe they're still in bed. Maybe they're in the bathroom.
They're in bed.
They're doing their morning
God
thing.
God knows what's happening there. True.
And people would say to me, I know it's time to get the kids off to school as soon as your report is done. You need the consistency, the ritual, and it's a real honor, I think, to be in someone's home at that very intimate time of the morning. There is a certain Australian Oscar winner who shall remain nameless, who once told me that he got home in time for the morning show because he'd been out. He would go out all night, and
he's coming home.
He would enjoy watching me for his own pleasure when he got home in the morning. So there you
Very
go.
concernal.
Let's see if we can work that one out. Back fences, let us know who it is.
You do have a very beautiful bravado, though, Nelson. You just warm and you are engaging, and I think on TV there could be so many blank black and white faces. You don't say anything. Look at you now. You just got that. You just calm me. Like when I look at you. And look, having said that, I mean the madness of entertainment reporting. To be honest, I mean I don't know. Like there's a lot of people listening like me that's just got to break it down a bit. Like, tell us some of the craziest interviews, like with the maddest people. Like, I mean, or it went the wrong way. Exactly. Let's go for it.
I just feel like if you're going to report news, and there's no margin of news. There isn't one news isn't any more valid than the next. If you're doing political reporting or celebrity reporting, people are interested in it regardless. So you have a responsibility to be accurate and credible about it. So I take it very, very seriously, even if it's something quote unquote fluffy like a Kardashian or something. But still, I take it
Have
very
you interviewed
seriously.
them?
No, I've successfully avoided the Kardashians.
Right. Interesting.
That's funny.
In fact,
that's interesting.
When I first started out in Los Angeles, I was friendly with Kim Kardashian's father, Robert Kardashian, who was a lawyer at the time. And I was actually, before my reporting career, I was very involved in the O.J. Simpson double murder story because I was friends with Nicole, who had been murdered, sadly. So I was, and then Kim's dad was one of OJ's defense lawyers. So it sort of fractured a lot of personal friendships there because, you were either on team OJ or you weren't. And those were heady times. So that's when tragic. I think of the Kardashians, most people think of Kim and her figure or the reality show. I think of OJ days. So
I don't blame you. So I'm going to take you back. Wow. Tell me a crazy interview. An interview that you did was absolutely out there, something you were not prepared for. It sort of landed, whoa.
Well, I think that you're not prepared for bad behavior because usually if you're interviewing a celebrity, they're on their best behavior. They know,
I agree.
They want to put their best foot forward. And as a rule, and I'm pretty open to that. Every now and then, people will say, "Oh, there are requirements. Don't ask about this." And I'm like, you know what? I'm a professional. I don't need to. If there's something you don't want to talk about, don't worry. But I will work my way around it, and chances are I'll get something unique and original and fascinating anyway. But there were times, very few, where things don't go according to plan. Comes to mind Reese Witherspoon. Everybody thinks, oh, that smile, that doll baby, innocent. What a cutie pie. Oh, yeah. And I was interviewing her, and she was playing a mother in peril. And Reese, it's not a secret, Reese Witherspoon is a mother. And I started the question asking about her character as a mother in peril. And I said, Reese, as a mother, and I continued on with my question, and this voice from somewhere in the darkness behind me, Nelson, please move on to another question. No personal questions. And I was, I'm like, well, maybe I'll just rephrase it. Well, from your experience, boom, the voice came again. And I just, I thought, I don't need this. I could just get a generic press kit interview. If she just wants to do sound bites, why is she wasting her time and mine? And there are a few stars like that, like a Stanley Tucci. We were talking right before we started on the air here. We were talking about punctuality, and I am very fond of saying I have always been punctual. It's instilled in me, but it's also a necessity for our business. You could be 3 hours late for a live shot, but you can't be 3 seconds late or. So I'm compulsively early.
The show must go on.
Vin Diesel is the most inconsiderate. When it comes to time, I've interviewed him, I don't know, a half a dozen times. The first time he was 6 or 7 hours late.
What? I was waiting for you to say minutes.
Yes.
And, I don't have the
things
power.
Early these days, don't you?
I've changed.
I didn't have the power to walk out and say, oh, well, forget Vin Diesel. I needed the interview. Like, that was my job. I had to stay as long as it would take. But he had already lost a whole day of interviews because of bad behavior the day before. So he was way far behind. But every time I give him the benefit of the doubt and I show up for these interviews, and he would be hours and hours late. And that's, as charming as he is, once he arrives, it's just not worth it. And to me, that's disrespectful of the journalists who
agree with you.
Wasting their time. And that goes for, there are certain rude ones, like Kevin Spacey or Justin Timberlake. You know, they're not always charming. But that's 2%. Yeah. And of course, everybody wants to talk about who's naughty as opposed to who's nice. Most of my encounters, I would say 98% of all of my thousands of celebrity interviews have been positive.
Who's your favorite?
And wonderful.
Who's your favorite?
I like.
Or what's your favorite?
Tell us some faves.
Yeah.
I like the older stars because they don't give a crap. By the time they've hit 70 or 80.
Can I clap to that?
I know.
Can I clap to that?
They'll just say anything. They also have the best stories because they've lived the longest. They're also most comfortable in their own skin. They're not checking their hair and their wardrobe. They're relaxed. They're just happy to be there and tell you stories. And I'm old enough, even when I was young, I was an old soul and such a movie and TV geek from the get-go that I would always fanboy out and have little factoids. So they appreciated that I was not only prepared, but enthusiastic. So give me any day of the week a Clint Eastwood, a Julie Andrews, anybody over 60. Meryl Streep has now crossed that line into being an older celebrity, and she's better than ever. Interviews with Meryl Streep now are better than when she was 20 or 30 years younger. Robert Redford was so great. And I also like, as we lose more stars every day, you know, it seems like we're losing more. It's just we're getting older and that's what happens. But I am so glad that I have those opportunities to have met certain stars, interviewed certain stars, and that's part of my legacy with them too. So, and it's funny because before I was in the thick of interviewing, where I was mostly just reporting stories, I remember the first celebrity death, and I've become a specialist in celebrity death. Nobody covers Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Robin Williams, any stars who passed like I can do it. I can even work up a tear or two, but I can tell really heartfelt, original stories. It's not just the press release. Yeah. And the very first time I was on morning television, and it had just come in that Deborah Carr, the actress from Here to Eternity, Tea and Sympathy, you know, this is an old-time star, but she had passed away. And I said to my producer, please give me 30 seconds to report on Deborah Carr. And the producer was, you know, who was probably like 4 years old, said, who? And I'm like, no, just get me that famous clip from Here to Eternity, where she and Burt Lancaster are making out on the beach and the waves.
I know the one.
Yes.
And I said, give me 30 seconds to say her obituary and explain why it's important that people know who she was. It's because that scene in From Here to Eternity was the most erotic, scandalous kind of scene. It was showing sex on the beach that had never been seen on film before.
Sounds like a cocktail in Bali.
Doesn't it?
Sex on the beach. But it opened the floodgates. We wouldn't see the explicit things we see in film today had Deborah Carr, who was not a racy lady, had she not done that. So I just wanted to give some perspective. I feel as a journalist, that's my job. I want to give a little perspective.
I'm really loving you. I'm loving how you're loving people. I'm going to throw it out there, over 50. And, you know, Nicola, you and I talk about that a lot. And a lot of our listeners are sort of in this, you know, from 40 up to 120. Yeah. The thing is what I'm loving is the feedback about interviewing someone, how they're not as fearful, they've got nothing to lose, and it's the storytelling.
It's a positive thing about as we all age, and if we're fortunate enough to be able to do that. And I love what you've sort of said, that now, you know, we do feel that way, and that's what we adore that with you, Nelson, and also what I love too, but you're the expert, so tell us, we're also seeing a lot of people now older, and especially older women, on the screens. Like we're sort of saying, say in Australia, we've got TV shows and now they're featuring women in their 50s and 60s and 70s and beyond. And that seems to be happening in Hollywood and the world. Is that correct?
I think that's fair to say. We may be, because we're getting older, we may be more attuned to noticing it,
go with
and
it,
appreciating it.
Yeah.
I think also so my new book, we're talking about movie versions of the book, and the characters in my book it's a significant age for the reason in the book, but they're 29-year-old men. And somebody was saying, oh, well, who would be your dream casting for that? And it's like, oh, well, shit, other than Timothée Chalamet, I don't even know. Can I name a 29-year-old actor? Because I don't see those films. Right. I don't seek them out. So my scope of reference is older. So
we're going to get into your book.
I look forward to it.
I just want to finish on Hollywood.
Because you are an author and you've done so many things and you travel, whatever. But we're still, what you want to get into the
I want to get
more.
Okay, the juiciest celeb gossip that you've ever preached to the world.
Woo.
I know that's broad.
I don't know why we can say that because at the back fence, like we're all in. Sometimes you can sort of say what happened on the back fence.
It's so true. You
and so
can.
We've got Aspen Nelson here. Like, tell us, spill some tea at our back
the
fence,
washing's hanging behind.
I'm trying.
I love that word, juiciest.
I know a lot things, but I've never told a lot of things.
Which is respectful.
So on that note, how authentic, there's a lot of, for example, years ago, there was a show called Fast Forward, and they had an image of an editor with all the sub-editors in a conference room, and they were saying, what are we going to talk about in the magazine this week? Oh, she's a bitch. Yeah, say that. Yeah. And that person's married. No, they're not. Yeah, but say it anyway. There's a lot of that, as you only know, but
and a lot of
how do you
reporters,
back up your?
Well, I don't deal in really. I don't deal in dirt. People just
and that's
that's
what I loved about you. Yeah. You were genuine when you were reporting.
Well, I have to live here. It's easy for somebody who doesn't live in Hollywood to talk about Hollywood because they're not here. I got to go to the supermarket with these people. I got to go, I live amongst them. Plus, it's just not my stuff.
And it's
respectful.
It's true.
No, we're on the same page there, Nelson, and that's exactly like that. We are into supporting people there, but and I know also, and we're all very, very sad, because you've got to bring it up now with Nicole, and Keith, the biggest sort of like stars really from Australia, and it's on a global scale, and they're split. But I know you actually reported on their wedding. Is that correct?
That was
Tell us more.
Trip. Yeah. It may have been my first ever trip to Australia. They called me and said, okay, Keith and Nicole are getting married. We're bringing you to Sydney. If that wasn't my first trip, it was my second, but it was new to me then. And this is, what I was going to say just previously about the reporters that talk gossip and mean things.
Yeah.
You can't name them because they don't last.
No.
They're not.
Yeah.
There you go. That. You just nailed it.
Yes.
They might be hot for a minute, but they don't. They have no longevity because no one trusts them. Nobody would let them in a room to interview.
That's also about life with people, isn't it? Friends. You go, nah, it's bullshit.
I interviewed Julie Andrews 8 times because she requested me. If I'm doing anything for Australia, I want Nelson Aspen. So I had Julie Andrews 8 times. That wouldn't happen if I were like, and Julie Andrews.
You should see it, without the makeup on.
Exactly.
They bring me down for Keith and Nicole's wedding, and they said, we're going to put you at the Intercontinental in Sydney because that's where Keith and his family are staying, and you can spy on them. And I was like, I would never.
Horrified.
It was cool to be there, but I wasn't going to spy on the groom's family. So, and then they took me out to Nicole's house in Sydney, and there were a zillion paparazzo and camera people there. And I'd never worked like this before in my life. And I had one of the network cameramen with me, and we were waiting for over an hour. Finally, the garage door comes up, and a car starts to back out. Nicole's in the back. I think it was her sister was driving, and as they're backing out, it was like the day or two before the wedding, and the cameraman's like shoving me. He's like, get her, like this angry paparazzi thing. Get her. And he said, you've got to get her to look at the camera. That was the shot they wanted. And I felt so dirty. And they were pushing me up to the car, and everybody's screaming, Nicole. And I couldn't bring myself to do it. So instead, I came up with a better idea. Instead, I said the name of the show I was doing, thinking, well, maybe she would know the name of the show, the morning show. And she did. I screamed, it's Nelson from, And the minute I said that, she looked up, we got the shot, and then I mouthed to her, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Because I felt awful.
Yes.
I don't
And
blame
it's
you.
just
They bang it on the
respectful.
glass, don't they? The camera, they actually bang it on the
Yes.
glass.
Yeah.
How
So
terrifying.
we got the shot. The next day, I wore my ill-fitting tuxedo and reported outside the church for the wedding. The next day after that, they put me on a plane back to Hollywood, and I was in the lounge, and one of the flight attendants, I don't remember what airline it was, but she recognized me from the morning show, and she bumped me up from premium economy.
Love those
The good old
hosties.
days. Was her name
The
Nicola?
good old days.
Exactly. Here's a
So
bottle
I
of
got
champagne.
to go to the first class lounge.
Wow.
And the flight was delayed 3 hours out of Sydney. So I thought, okay, well, at least I'm in the first class lounge. Well, guess who I was in the lounge with?
Who?
Naomi Watts, because she was coming back from the wedding.
Yeah.
And Tom Cruise's sister, who had brought Isabella and Connor Cruise down for the
their
wedding.
children.
For their
of
mother's
course,
wedding.
Yes.
of
So
course.
we had 3 hours to kill, and Naomi recognized me from the show. So we all hung out together. We all flew back together, and I thought it was cute. Naomi was watching herself in King Kong on the flight, which I thought was really funny.
Oh, was she?
Oh, that's so sweet.
And then she got
That's
her own
actually
bag.
interesting.
She's doing a review on herself.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's
She got her
I'm
own
sure
funny.
I've heard her
bag.
interviewed saying she doesn't like looking back at things that she's
Well, there
done.
you go.
So there you go. There's the.
Oh, well.
So look, lastly, I won't hover around Hollywood because you know I love it. I adore Robin Williams. Bless him in heaven. What was the interview like? Because he could be absolutely on fire, or he can just be
mad.
beautiful.
He was a mad genius. And I interviewed him a few times for the show. But interestingly, and this is why my motto is say yes to everything. Just say yes to everything. You don't know where it's going to lead you. My whole life, my whole career has been just saying yes. I was an aerobics instructor to make a living while I was trying to be an actor. I became such a hot aerobics instructor that I was hired to train Princess Diana in step aerobics while I was in London. While I was in London to teach the princess step aerobics, they put me on the morning show to demonstrate the workout. And that's how I got the job on British morning television for 10 years. Then the Australian show, they were starting the show. The show was new. It was only been on for a couple of months. And the producer was looking at other international shows and saw me on the British show and contacted me and said, would you like to do the Australian show? And I said, depends on what time it is, what time of day, because the British show is killing me. It's 11 o'clock at night to 2 in the morning. And he goes, well, this would be noon to 3. I'm like, I'll be out in time for happy hour. Sign me up. So that's how Australia came to be. But with Robin Williams, when I was a young actor, like a teenager, I was cast in the first film he did after Mork and Mindy. Remember, he did the sitcom Mork and Mindy.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
First movie he did after that was called Seize the Day. It was based on a Saul Bellow novel.
Don't remember.
And I had a very small part, but I worked with him for, 3 or 4 days in this film. And you know, he was everything you think of when you think of Robin Williams. Spontaneous and wild and improvisational but genius. So then every time I would go to interview him over the years, I would start out by sitting down and reintroducing myself. And I'm like, yes, we made Seize the Day together back in 1980, whatever it was. And he'd be like, that was one of my favorite films I've ever made. And it would disarm him. And that would give us a side of Robin Williams that every other show didn't get, because I had this, that's what I look for when I'm interviewing somebody. I want a special hook that isn't just the assembly line, how did you like to make this movie? You know, who are your role models? It's just something personal.
Which film would you say is one of your favorites with Robin Williams?
Oh, with Robin Williams. I was getting ready to show you my tattoo, but okay, it's a different question.
Yes.
That's concerning. Where is it?
I would like to see that.
We're
on YouTube,
We're
guys.
not an R-rated
so if you're
show.
listening, you can watch this as well.
My favorite film that is not tattooed, the tattoo on my leg of my favorite film is not a Robin Williams film. But if I don't know, if I I would probably say my
Dead
favorite
Poet.
Robin Williams film would be Seize the Day, because I did it with
you
him
were in it.
and have those memories.
Okay, last
No, I
one.
want to
Last
know.
one.
Come on, but while we're here, we're
Yeah.
gonna. I still show us the tat.
Oh,
Well,
I love you,
This
Nicola.
is show us the tat.
Good thing I can still be a little limber. My favorite movie of all time is The Poseidon Adventure. Now that's upside down. You have to
What's
stand
going
up.
on between
I
the legs?
love that Poseidon.
Oh my
Woo,
God.
that's a bit erotic, isn't it?
I was
That's
thinking
Poseidon.
he's got it all
He's got
going
a shell
on.
over his naughty bits. Don't worry. And then that's
He's not
because
wearing
I
board
ran-
shorts
That's
anyway.
26.2 because that's the distance in miles of a marathon, and I ran 20 marathons. I got that tattoo around marathon number 18. Now I
love it.
just run to the kitchen.
I love
The Poseidon
podcasting.
Adventure. We will get to that too with your books as well. But you've got one more
One
you
more.
wanted to shoot.
Joan
with your-
Rivers, one of my favourite people in the world. Bless her too.
Bless her too. What
How
a
was your
worker.
interview? I mean, God, Fashion Police was my favourite thing ever.
I didn't actually interview Joan. I knew her as a colleague. I think I did a documentary with Melissa, her daughter. She and I
Right.
were hosts of some documentary. But Joan and I, when I first started going back and forth and being bi-coastal between Los Angeles and New York, so every week I would fly from one coast to the other, and I'd spend the following week on that coast and come back and forth and back. And Joan Rivers, to the day she died, was a workhorse. No one worked like that woman worked. And I would see her every single red-eye flight from Los Angeles to New York. She always had the same seat, 1C. I was in the back of the plane, but she was in 1C. And, just between the lounge and the plane and then getting off the plane, and she'd drag her own suitcase. She had no entourage. She'd get in her seat at 11 o'clock at night, fly through the night, get off the plane at 6 in the morning in New York. And so that's how we came to know each other, because we were fellow travelers.
Yeah.
And the thing I
Something about
respected
you with
most about her.
airports.
Yeah, no,
Work.
I was just saying, Nelson, there's so many things to you, and you are coming out to Australia, which we're going to talk about, but also you are an author, and I mean, you've written, 9, 10 books or something, is that correct?
Yeah. 11 and 12 are coming out in 2026.
Wow. And how about
February
the one
and April.
And you're a steamy writer as well, isn't it? Like the dancing, it's not dancing between the rain, is it raindrops?
Yeah, I love the name.
My dad used to say to me, because, I grew up in the 80s in New York City, and it was pretty wild, and I was pretty wild, and I would come home to see my folks, and my dad would say, "I don't know how you're alive. It's like you're dancing between the raindrops." And he would always reference that. So that's the name of my novel series. I say it's semi-autobiographical. I changed some names and I rearranged some facts because I wasn't sure I could remember it 100% accurately, and if you can't write a autobiography and mess it up, So I wanted a little freedom in case I got something wrong. But it's 99% true, and it's filthy because it's 99% true. But it's tons of gossip. I let it all hang out. The Dancing Between the Raindrops talks about my 10 years in New York City in the 80s. The sequel, Dancing Between the Raindrops, The Hollywood Years, takes us to Hollywood from 1990 to 2012. And then the third in the trilogy, Dancing Between the Raindrops, Happily Ever After, that's coming in February in time for Valentine's Day. And that brings us to the conclusion.
It made me think of Gene Kelly. I'm singing in the rain.
I'm
just
dancing between the raindrops.
rain.
All right.
You can do a sing-along. Come on. You're a singer.
You give me an idea. And so Gene Kelly, one of Gene Kelly's most famous dancing partners, those of you who love classic films will remember the great Sid Charisse. Do you remember Sid Charisse, the dancer? So when I first moved to Hollywood, I'm snot-nosed 20-something-year-old kid, and I was going to all the Hollywood places because I was such a Hollywood fan, and I ended up at Merv Griffin's Coconut Club at the Beverly Hilton, and there dancing with her husband Tony Martin was Sid Charisse, and I got it into my head. I'm going to butt in and ask Sid Charisse to dance with me, because who could say other than Gene Kelly and Fred Astaire that they got to dance with Sid Charisse? And I went over and I tapped her husband on the Tony Martin on the shoulder. I said, "Excuse me." I thought I was so smooth. I said, "Excuse me, may I cut in?" And she was so beautiful to the very end. And she looked at me very sweetly and said, "I'm sorry, I only danced with my husband."
You're kidding.
It was the coolest rejection imaginable. I'm sure a million people must have asked her to dance over the years. It was the coolest way to let me down without offending me.
I get it.
And
That's kind, isn't it? That's really
that is a star.
So what about the next book?
Yeah, now tell us about when
Kindred
coming
Spirits.
out. You're releasing another one? Yes.
Why
Titanic.
I just happen to have a copy. Right?
I'm a bit obsessed by the Titanic.
I am
by
too.
the way.
We're
really
obsessed by it. I think
obsessed.
everybody.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about this, Nelson.
And John
Kindred
Astor and Molly Brown, obsessed by them both.
I'm actually having dinner with a certain celebrity on Thursday of this week to discuss them portraying Molly Brown in the book. Because I've been a Titanic nut my whole life. I believe that I'm reincarnated from an obscure, nobody famous, from an obscure passenger who perished on Titanic. And I'm 62. I would say 55 of my 62 years have been tied up in some way with Titanic. I host a Titanic podcast with a friend called Titanic Talk. So, I mean, lots of Titanic stuff. So I decided it was time, after the Raindrops books, I would put my Kindred Spirits, it's my reincarnation story. It's also the first gay Titanic story. Shock horror, there were homosexuals on the Titanic. What do you know? So
we can talk about it now.
It's the first, and that's the theme of the book. A young gay guy in 1912 was stuck. There was not a lot of joy for a gay guy, no matter how rich he was, let alone going down on the Titanic.
Wow.
So this is the story of my guy, and I'm coming to Sydney in December to promote
did you
the
hear
book.
that, everyone?
Yeah.
That is great news. You are coming out to Sydney?
I'm coming to Sydney. You know, for many years when I was doing the show, my best Australian friend is Melissa Doyle. I call her my
figure
satellite.
that.
We love Melissa.
Everyone listening would know Melissa.
We love Melissa
we
Doyle.
had such a connection on the show over the years, and what the audience didn't see, but they could feel in our chemistry, was that during the commercial breaks, we would all things. So we had a tradition for several years while I was doing the show that I came and spent Christmas with Mel and her family in Sydney.
That's beautiful.
So it's been a few years. It's been since COVID, I guess. And she was like, she always invites me. And I said, okay, this year I'm coming to Sydney. So I'm coming to Sydney to spend Christmas with Mel. And I said, let's do an event for my book. And she's like, oh, I'll host it and I'll do a Q&A. So it will be Mel and I reunited together again Monday, December 22nd at the Shangri-La Hotel in Sydney.
Fabulous.
We will be there, and that will be fantastic.
Nicola, she's meeting Oprah, isn't she?
She's doing the Q&A.
We're meeting Oprah too, but she's actually interviewing
She's
her,
doing the Q&A, so you're certainly in fine company there.
She'll be all warmed up. And she's, she's such a pro. And we'll get to spend Christmas together. And Mel will lead the Q&A, and then I'll be there, and there will be books, and it's free to the public. You can come to the lobby lounge at the Shangri-La. There will be drinks and snacks and everything available for purchase. The book available for purchase. Wow. Lots of selfies, lots of fun. We'll have Christmas, and then I have never, in all my many visits to Australia, I love Perth. Perth is probably my favorite place in all of Australia. I adore Perth. But, I've been to Perth and Brisbane and Melbourne and Sydney, but I've never really been out of the central business districts. So I'm going to go for a couple days. I think Port Stephens, is that right?
Yeah, gorgeous.
To a little lovely resort in Port Stephens and just go hang out on the beach for a couple days.
Fabulous.
That would be. It's funny. I did a thing not so long ago, and Mel Doyle was doing the House of Wellness, and we're talking about you, and she actually said Nelson is like family. Aww. So you've got a big fan club, and also who was on our podcast as well is Karen Ledbury. Yes. So listeners, tune into that one.
Isn't she fabbo?
Well, I think she'll be there on the 22nd as well, and we've got a few other notable names I'm hoping to expect. I don't want to disappoint anybody or make promises I can't keep. But another good friend that has just become a close pal over the years, and I just saw her a couple of weeks ago in New York City, and I was like, "Do you want to come on the 22nd?" So, yeah. So I'm hoping Nat Bassingthwaite will be there. Maybe Lynn McGranger and a few other of my friends from my TV.
Just quickly, I just want to touch on. We're talking about this beautiful human Nelson, like how many things he's done. Like it's mind blowing. He's also
Is
and
it travel
cabaret.
agents? Oh, yeah.
You're a singer
Yes.
and entertainer and cabaret. Like, oh my God! Like, and you're sharing personal stories through songs. Tell us about that.
Well,
Sing a song
last
for
year-
us.
Well, okay.
You should
well,
join, and Di, you should join in. You
I
lead,
will.
and then you lead
But
Nelson.
tell us about that.
One
then.
of my best interviews my favorite interviews over the years was I ran into Tony Bennett often on the streets of New
wow.
York. And we eventually started striking up conversations, and he was very excited to tell me about his artwork. And he was a painter, a very gifted painter. And everybody, of course, thinks of him as the great crooner, but no, he was a talented painter. And I said, can I come and do a story on your painting? And he invited me into his home. We did this amazing story about all of his painting and what it meant to him. And when he passed away, I knew I had this interview, this really bespoke, fascinating interview. He was a war hero. He liberated concentration camps. He started a school for the performing arts, and he didn't name it after himself. He named it after his friend Frank Sinatra. He was a very unbelievable man. And so I created a cabaret show where I could show clips of Tony Bennett, tell stories about Tony Bennett, and then I didn't try to imitate him, I don't sing like him, but I sang his arrangements. So I was singing his arrangements, and I had a female guest artist who filled in for Amy Winehouse, Judy Garland, Diana Krall. She did all the female bits for those arrangements. And I ended up winning last year 3 Broadway World Cabaret Awards, which
Whoa,
was
come
a
on,
tremendous
give us a number.
surprise.
Come on,
All
Nelson.
on the back of an interview. Wow.
What's
Well,
your favourite
you know.
one from there?
I like character songs, so
Okay.
I rather than sing something romantic and sappy, which has its place, I like doing more like another bride, another June, another sunny honeymoon, another season, another reason for making whoopee. Yeah, I like songs.
Love that. Hey, you are multi-talented.
You are,
Yeah,
you know what,
yeah.
as Di was saying,
Incredible.
and also with all that as well, he loves to travel, but you actually do it as a biz too, and you're a travel host. And
Oh,
and what's this
tick,
one about
tick.
with the tours of Ireland as well?
This
Tell us a little
this
bit
is
about
new,
that.
and this is what a gift this is.
Yes.
It's all because of the Titanic book. So
Yeah,
this year,
absolutely. One
because
thing
the
leads to
Titanic,
another.
the
Say
Titanic
yes.
was
Yes.
built.
Yep.
It was built in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So when the book came out, I went to Belfast, Northern Ireland. The museum there, the Titanic Museum, is unbelievable. The original office building where Thomas Andrews designed and built the Titanic is still there. It's unbelievable how great. Everybody knows, Ireland, Dublin, and, kissing the Blarney Stone. That's familiar to people. But Belfast was a revelation. So I had such a great time. I was asked, would you lead a 13-day tour? And who would you like to invite along? And I'm like, well, it has to be people that want to have fun. It's not all about the Titanic.
That's
we end up
our
in Belfast.
3 letters.
Yes,
Fun.
yeah.
It starts in Dublin. Who can you travel with for 13 days and not want to murder? So it's open to anyone who wants to join me in October of 2026. Plenty of time to plan for it.
Okay,
And I'll
we'll
be
have that
doing
on our show
Zoom.
notes.
Put that on our
too.
show notes.
And
Yeah.
what a
Yeah.
hoot, and no one more informative than you with especially because I know when
And we just go. We
I
just
love it.
go
I
to
love it.
Ireland
It
together
sounds
and
great.
hang out.
Yeah.
And what's that Titanic Hotel in LA too? Where you stay at? Isn't there a hotel?
I don't know if
I thought
there's
it was down
there's
south
a
of-
Titanic everything, so
Okay,
it wouldn't
yeah.
it wouldn't
Does
surprise
it
everything.
sink?
Well, it's
Bloody hell.
Surrounded by
I
ice.
also want to finish up with a question. Every time I've heard you over the years, you really have this incredible positive bravado, and you have gratitude. Is there things that you do in your day that you could share with our listeners to allow that to emerge in your world?
I have kept a book of blessings for probably 20 years, and
So
not
tell us
every
about
day.
that. What
It's
is
not
that?
every day, but it's almost every day, and it's just a blank journal and every entry has 5 lines, and the theory being write down 5 things you're grateful for, 5 blessings in your life, and that could be, hey, I woke up, or it could be, I have a loving family, or I have my health, or I love where I live, or I had a great meal. It doesn't matter. It's just stopping for a minute to take stock of your blessings. I mean, without our blessings, what have we got? Nothing.
Oh, you're so positive, and it's such a great thing, I think,
I'm
for
loving
everyone.
this.
It's like, you seek the goodness in life too, and I think, because you're actually looking, and I think it's a great tip, and that was a great
Anything
question
else
there,
you
Jai.
do besides the book?
Well, yeah. Well, and I was going to say, going through the loss of my parents, I was so close to my parents, and they were, my soulmates, and it's a rite of passage. I mean, that's the way nature worked it out. We're supposed to eventually lose our parents. If it didn't work out that way, it would be a tragedy. That's the way it's supposed to go. But I'll never get over it. I'll just never get over losing my parents. And then last year I lost my brother because he was not well. And, so dealing with grief and sadness, if you can find the blessing of, I had my mother for, she made it to 93. I had my father until I was 57 or whatever. My brother's not suffering anymore. So yes, there's a world full of sadness and disaster. But if you can find the point of view to look at it inside out, that is
I
a
love
great
that. Inside
coping
out.
mechanism.
Oh, it's that mind shift,
Yeah.
and you're certainly doing it, and then that's just wonderful. Well, we're really excited about you coming out to
Yay!
Oz, and we'll be there, and I can't wait to read the book, and I want to see the event and see you.
And I want a hug in person.
Okay,
Yeah.
absolute hug.
Oh, that'd be divine.
Absolute hug.
Yeah.
But we've got our
Beautiful.
signature questions. Did you want to
okay.
go, Daddy?
Oh, well, I love this one. I love this one for Nelson. If you had the opportunity of meeting anybody over the back fence, who would that be and why?
Living or dead, does it matter?
Whatever.
You can have a few.
All of the above.
Well, if it were someone who's not with us anymore, it would be Joan Crawford. Because Joan Crawford
Wow.
she had more discipline. It didn't always manifest itself in the best ways. But when you consider the world into which she was born, what she was born into, and how she struggled and fought. And she was very unique. People could imitate Joan Crawford, but there can only ever be one Joan Crawford. And she, from what I understand, was a very funny, loving friend. She might, as Helen Hayes, if you remember the actress Helen Hayes, once said about Joan Crawford, she said, "Joan tried to be all things to all people. I just wish she hadn't tried to be a mother." So Joan Crawford was not known for her parenting skills, but she was known for her discipline as a star. Certainly for her talent and beauty, sense of style. So she would be my over the fence.
She was a remarkable.
Well, we want to be
really dark.
We'd like to be hanging out
roles.
with that one and then checking that out. You
So
guys
what's
at the
next one,
back fence.
Nicholas?
Well, if you can, you got
Madonna, maybe Madonna, because I've never
What a contrast.
interviewed her.
Yeah.
I've never interviewed her.
Really?
I was set to interview her once, and something happened, and they had to cancel the whole thing. And I was disappointed about it. I feel like she's a missing puzzle piece in my mosaic of celebrities I've interviewed over the years. I do feel people assume, oh, well, surely you've interviewed Madonna. I'm like, no, I haven't.
Those pointy
So I would like
bras and the crosses, and with Lisa McGuigan, we've
but that was my
got a
talent.
wine.
I can't hear vintage Madonna without going right back to the New York in the 1980s, because that was where she came of age herself.
Yeah.
She and I are
Holiday,
peers that way.
Holiday, like a virgin.
Celebrate.
Celebrate. There's so many. We all love
Yeah.
Madonna, and it just puts you in the mood to dance and have a good time. But Nelson, I mean, I love how your mind thinks as well too. So if you could wind back that clock to 20-year-old Nelson, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Put condoms in your wallet, for sure.
Our producer Sam is killing herself laughing. I think so. Our listeners here too. And how sensible's that?
No, just
Driving off the microphone off. I've nearly knocked my drink. I love it.
I have zero regrets. I did absolutely everything. I said yes to everything.
So say yes to
such
everything.
Adventures.
Oh, you're funny. Oh my God.
Oh, and you're still standing.
I've lost the plot
you're
after
still
that one.
here. Oh, that is just so funny. Now, what about, do you want me to say the last one? I can't
Absolutely,
speak.
I've lost
I
the
could just
plot.
lost it. I love it. Well, like you certainly make us happy.
I want to
And
sing,
you're making
baby.
you make so many people happy. What makes you happy?
Food, drink. I'm lucky. You know, I was very happily single until I was 50 years old, and I was content to stay that way. I say I was alone but not lonely. I really was having a good time being single, and then I completely
as long as you had condoms in your wallet.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's true. But then I met the love of my life at 50, 12 years ago, and now we're married and happily ever after.
Congratulations.
And we have an amazing life. He's an amazing guy with an amazing job. We're completely different and yet the same. And one of the things what makes me happy is when 5 o'clock rolls around and I can have a martini and a fabulous meal with my husband. That's
you know what? That's so good.
High
talk
five.
About inspiration and talk about falling in love at any age or stage, and that's what sort of we're about too. You know, so I think that's great. So everybody, thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
Don't forget to write reviews, subscribe on YouTube.
It's
give
free.
us the ratings. It is. It's YouTube's free. We like the ratings. I don't know, Nelson, if you know, Di has her own rating systems here. So we've got Nelson from Aspen all the way from LA.
Oh my
God! How many stars?
Okay, I'm going to ask a question before I answer that.
Okay.
How long was the Titanic?
You mean in feet?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. It was longer than a football field. I don't know the exact measurement, but I'm off the hook because if I did know the answer, it would be in feet, and you would say in meters.
We love feet. Okay, next question. What year did the Titanic sink?
1912.
Okay.
How many stars?
1,912 he gets out of 5.
Yeehaw,
there you go. Well done.
Well
done, Nelson.
So thank you so
much. It took a while to answer that bloody question.
We are so excited to see you.
Stay beautiful.
You know, as I said, you're part of our family. You're an Aussie here as well.
Yay.
We just adore you.
We love
Yanks.
Yanks.
Pay me a higher compliment. That's the ultimate compliment. Thank you.
Oh, well.
What a
Thanks for listening.
pleasure.
We'll be back next week. Ciao,
Take
ciao.
care.
Ciao, ciao.